What is up, you guys? It's ZXRyuu coming back with another game from my childhood. So today we're going to be doing some Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back. I decided to start with Crash 2 because Crash 1 is really hard. I'm not that great at platformers to begin with, and so Crash 1 was really difficult when I went through it just normally, and even just trying to revisit it recently to, I guess, practice a little bit before trying to record it or anything. I found that it was actually going to probably be a little bit too, too casual, I guess, to go through. So I'm going to start with Crash 2. I guess if you guys really want to see me struggle and go through Crash 1, be sure to leave a note in the comments and like this video a lot, and I might revisit it again a little bit later. But I think for right now, just for to make it a little bit more interesting to watch rather than just watch me get upset at the game, we're going to do Crash 2 instead. So I guess just kind of in case we don't do Crash 1, we'll talk about the storyline to catch you up here in a minute.
Slave crystals from the surface. How do you expect to retrieve them when we don't have any Earthbound operatives left?
You fool! Do you think I'm unaware of the situation? If we don't have any friends left on the surface, then we need to find an enemy.
Crash? Crash? Crash, my battery is fried. Make yourself useful, big brother, and bring an extra battery for me.
Everybody's favorite line, that Coco is a jerk. So this is just kind of the intro level to help you understand the mechanics of the game. So I guess let's go ahead and catch up on what's going on here. So in the first Crash Bandicoot game, Crash is an experiment that was going to be... he was going to be turned into a general, I guess, of Dr. Cortex's army. And instead of that happening, Crash got away and ended up falling onto an island. Well, there's a female Bandicoot that you have to go and rescue. Okay, there's more plot here, so we'll wait a minute.
Well. If it isn't Crash Bandicoot, welcome. I apologize for the crude means used to bring you here, but I rather expect a written invitation would have been turned down. I need your help. Surrounding you are a series of 5 doors. Through each door lies a well-hidden crystal. The crystals look like this. Bring me the crystals, Crash. That is all I will say for now. We will speak again.
Okay, so you go and try and rescue the female Bandicoot, and so you have to go through a bunch of levels that are really difficult to go back and rescue her. And so as a result, after you defeat Cortex, he falls onto the island, which you then see in the beginning of this game. And then you now are charged with going and finding the crystals. So there's also gems in this game like there is in the first game. In the first game there was gems for completing each level 100%. There's also some keys and as well as some other things. So this first level, what I'm doing is I'm just walking through. In order to get gems, you have to break all of the boxes. And the problem with the first game, which makes it so difficult, is that the boxes don't hold over if you die. So you end up having to basically perfect the level without breaking anything or... okay, I was trying to be careful with that one because that's like the hardest part right there. So you end up getting gems by breaking all of the boxes, but since the boxes don't hold over, you have to perfect it and not die, not making sure you're not missing any boxes or this kind of thing. So it's just a really hard game. So we're gonna skip over the crystal for now, and that actually will probably trigger a cutscene where Cortex gets a little upset at us, thinking we're not understanding what we're supposed to be doing. There's kind of a good ending and a bad ending to this game, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we could exit the level right now, and I think that's kind of the intended way that you're supposed to do it, but what we're going to do to kind of speed this up is I'm going to go ahead and just death abuse right here. So that resets the level. Okay, so now we can go back through and break all of the boxes. So usually the colored gems are special conditions, like you have to meet special conditions in order to get the gems. And that's same with the, I mean, kind of for the first game. I mean, normally for the first game, just to get any kind of gem, you just have to perfect the levels. So, but the colored gems were usually in really challenging levels. So they were either really long or had a lot of boxes or some combination of the two or this kind of thing. So there's just some things about Crash 2 I think that make it a little bit more interesting to play. So, oops, forgot. There's some weird mechanics that if you land on enemies and spin them at the same time, sometimes they'll just up and kill you. So. There's a lot to talk about with this game, I guess. So anyway, there's the story of Crash 1 is, you know, you're trying to just rescue the female Bandicoot and, you know, just defeat Cortex. I mean, that's the easy part of it, but the hard part of it is 100%ing it where you get everything. So Crash 1 was the last game in the series that I completed. I have all 3 of them, but I 100%ed Crash 3, or Crash Bandicoot Warped, because it was my favorite game in the series. So, so I beat that one first, and then I went back and finished this game, because I didn't have everything for it. So there's some really kind of interesting things to this game that this is definitely going to be a casual playthrough, by the way. I have not played this in a really long time. Yeah, you have to like wait until like the very end in order to make that. Okay, these guys are annoying because you have to go really quickly. As soon as you land on them, they start falling, and so you have to dash really quickly to get across. So anyway, so now in this game, what we're doing is we kind of, after we defeated Cortex, okay, everything's fine, or so we think, and then Coco needs her laptop battery, so like a good brother, we go and try and pick it up. But then we get kind of abducted by Cortex, and I don't think Coco really realizes that at this point. That was dumb. And so then we just start collecting crystals for Cortex. So a new section to Crash 2 is these bonus sections, and I probably should actually go ahead and just like introduce the controls since I haven't even talked about the controls yet. So square is spin. In the first game, you could use square or circle to spin, and spinning is your attack. You know, in this game, you can't spin in the mud in this game. So what they did was they replaced circle, instead of it being a second spin button, they replaced it with a dash, or just a slide, I guess. So the thing about the slide is there's some things that you can do with it to abuse it for speedrunning, but I won't talk about that right now because I'm not going to be speedrunning the game. You can avoid those pits if you go off to the side like that. I kind of figured that out just casually playing the game because it was, I don't know, they were just kind of annoying, and so I was like, there's got to be a way to bypass these things. Speedrunners use a different method for getting around these, but I just used the level geometry over there to get around it. And sometimes I miss it, but whatever. So anyway, X is jump. Triangle brings up like a menu of sorts. The first game, I think, had it, but it only showed you how many lives you had and how many fruit. They're called Wampa fruit. how many of those you had picked up. And also, too, the levels kind of indicate now what you need in each stage. So there's the crystal, the gem, and then the colored gem also. And then Crash does a little dance at the end of each time you get anything special. It just kind of does that. So another cutscene.
Well done, Crash. I knew I could rely on you. Now listen carefully. These holograms are hard to maintain. During the course of my intellectual pursuits, I have stumbled across a force that threatens to destroy the world. Crystals are the only means of containing it. The fate of the world is at stake. It is imperative, therefore, that you bring them to me.
There, Crash? Crash! Crash! Are you there? Are you there, Crash?
So we see that Coco is still kind of interested in what happened to us now. So she starts looking for us. But Cortex tells us that in order to save the world, we have to find these crystals. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so in this game too, it introduces something called, there's little nitro boxes. Normally you just have these TNT boxes that you can jump on top of, and it'll set off a timer. And then you have kind of 3 seconds or so to either get away from it or, whatever. But in this game, it introduces nitro boxes, and if you touch them, they'll blow you up. They're not instant death because the little mask thing following me around is kind of like sparks in Spyro the Dragon. If anybody's familiar with that, kind of gives you some extra hits. So when you're normal, you can only take 1 hit. When you have 1 mask, you can take an extra hit, and then when you have 2 masks, you can take 2 hits, and if you get 3 of them, you become invincible for a time. Okay, some more, I guess, on the controls. So if you press the circle button with a direction, you'll slide like that, and then if you press X, you'll do kind of a jump as well, and also so you can crouch and move around as well, which you kind of need for some sections as well. But mainly it just helps you jump higher. So all of the circle mechanics aren't in the original game. You just have 1 jump. And the original game, to be honest, the first Crash Bandicoot is really kind of clunky, I guess, in the way that it plays. It's not nearly as fluid as 2 or even 3. I mean, I think 3 is even a little bit more fluid. In the first game, those mask boxes, if you broke one open, it wouldn't immediately give you the mask, so you could accidentally spin them away. So now in this game, they just instantly give it to you. In the first game, also, you have these kind of phantom blocks, I guess, and you have to go find little like exclamation mark boxes in order to break those open, and so you can hear it, and also on this camera angle you can kind of see it up there at the top, but you have to look around in order to see them most of the time, and sometimes they're pretty well hidden, like they're off in different parts of the level and you don't have access to them until much later. So in this level, there's a red gem. I'm skipping over the red gem. There is kind of a glitch, quote unquote, in order to get it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and get it the intended way, which means we have to go find another platform in another level later on. So we'll bypass that for now and come back to it. So, and you can press triangle usually to skip past any dancing animations or whatever. You can press start.
So, you were helping Cortex gather crystals, yet you have acquired a gem. Interesting. Well, Crash, know this. As long as you are allied with Cortex, you are my sworn enemy, and I will do anything in my power to stop you. If the fate of the world is truly your concern,
So that's Nitrous Brio from the first Crash game. He's working with Cortex, so you have to fight against him. But in this game, he's working against Cortex now. So if you gather gems, you're helping him. But if you gather crystals, you're helping Cortex. And unfortunately, in this game, there's no way to like bypass certain things. You have to get the crystals in order to progress through the game. So we're gonna have to run because this timer, what this timer does is there's a special gem at the end of this level, and the only way that you can get it is by beating this timer. So we're just gonna use circle to boost. Okay, we don't want to trigger any of the other checkpoints because if we do, that messes everything up. We're going to bypass the crystal. For the longest time, I actually didn't understand what that timer was even supposed to mean. So it took me quite a while to figure out that you had to like race to the end in order to get the gem. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so there's the special one. So we're going to go ahead and Death Abuse again, so we can go back to the beginning of the level. So, and in this game, a big change is that the checkpoints hold your box count. So you don't have to worry about, you know, if you got all of the boxes up to a certain point, you don't have to worry about losing them, which I think is a really nice thing. And also, if you want to play this game and also just any of the other games in the Crash series now, you might as well just get the Crash Insane trilogy for the PS4. The reason why I'm not playing that version is because it behaves a little bit differently, like kind of in a minor sense, but it's enough to like mess me up when I'm playing it. So so the only time I would ever play that is if like if I was doing a race or something with somebody, because there's a high probability that they don't have the PS1 version of this game. So these are just, I played them growing up, obviously, so this is the version that I have. And this is the version I'm used to. I played this game so much during my childhood. I went through it multiple times. But I think I did end up playing Crash 3 the most, followed by this one, and then Crash 1. So Crash 1 is just, it's really difficult to describe how hard it actually is until you try and play it. So, especially, you know, since you have to perfect everything. So these extra sections with the gems are what I call like a death zone, I guess, because there's a platform kind of later on that's got a skull on it that you usually use to get to these levels, and they're just a harder section. But they usually have boxes and other things that you have to get in order to complete the level. So so we have to go through these, and they do nonsense things like this where you have to jump on boxes, which I hate. It's like my least favorite thing in the entire game series. So most of the games that I started out playing were platformers, and I never really got very good at them. Even playing through these games multiple times like I did, I never really got very good at these. So again, here's an exclamation mark box that you have to break and then go back through the level to get the boxes again. So, and they're just there to trip you up. I mean, that's what the game's built to do. So, game's built to jip you. So, but after a while of, you know, getting more interested in games and just playing more games, I ended up kind of getting more into the, you know, fighting type games or action games or this kind of thing, like Kingdom Hearts and this kind of thing. That platform back there, just with the two enemies on it, I kind of wondered if there was something to do with them when I was playing through this casually. And so eventually I just kind of sat down one day and figured out how to get back there. And there is kind of a secret area in this game that has extra levels or like warps you to different parts of the levels so that you can get other things like the red gem in Snow Go. So we'll get to that a little bit later because that one's really hard to get to. There's a couple of them, and each of them have like varying degrees of how difficult they are to get to, and some of them it almost seems like you have to kind of like glitch it to get over there. So anyway, we'll get to another one that's a little bit easier to get to later on. So, but I did like the Crash Bandicoot games, and I went ahead and bought the PS4 version to support it because I liked it so much.
3 crystals. Not bad. I see you are getting the hang of it. I need to conserve power. I will communicate with you again after you retrieve the 5th crystal.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. This warp room is kind of weird. There's actually a glitch a little bit later on where you can fall back behind the like loading area, and you'll still get warped to the level, but you'll lose a life and your masks and stuff. So anyway, it's kind of weird, but anyway, that's not intended, obviously, but it's just kind of funny. So like I said, in this game, if you press triangle, you can see how many boxes you've collected. In Crash 3, they take it one step further. In Crash 1, they don't give you anything. In Crash 2, they tell you how many boxes you've broken. And then in Crash 3, they tell you how many you have out of how many you need. So you get the whole picture of what you're trying to do to complete it. So that's why I ended up doing a lot of... we're going to do a little bit of backtracking here just because this is a little bit faster to do it this way. So they start helping you out some more because the levels in Crash 3 get to be pretty long, and they some of them have over 100 boxes. So it just becomes more and more apparent that you need a little bit more help to be able to complete them. So okay, so now we're going to go back the other way, and I'm going to be pretty careful here because there's pits and other nonsense that they put in here to mess you up. So, and you have to go backwards through some of the sections in this stage. So I just run it as careful as I can so I don't die. Oops. So some of those guys you have to slide, some of them you have to stand on. Or you just have to jump on or whatever. So, okay, that's the last box, so let's go. Huh. I guess he got glitched out. That's funny. I really like the music in the Crash Bandicoot games as well. They did a really good job with the music in these games. Whoops. So in like many games, if you get 100 of the Wampa fruit, it gives you an extra life. A new thing in this game is these boxes. You can't spin them. You can't jump on them. You have to body slam them, which you do by pressing X and then circle. So we're going to jump on these TNT boxes. If you slide on the TNT boxes, it immediately detonates it, so that's not not a good thing to do. Okay, so this section is kind of annoying because if you you have to kind of go back across a couple times, and so if you break the boxes the first time through, that's bad. So what I usually do is I'll jump on all 3 of them. That triggers it to break on the next time you jump on it. And then what I'll do is I'll jump on the first one and the third one and then use the middle one for the way back. So we're going to bounce and then bounce. And if you press X and hold it, you'll jump higher when you bounce off of those platforms. Okay. All right. This game is kind of stressful to me because there's a lot of areas you can fall off and die so easily. I don't really like that, but but I did have a really good time playing this game. It was just very, very challenging to go through, especially as a young gamer. So, and even now, I'm like still getting kind of paranoid about some stuff. So, let's see if I can skip this one. There we go. Okay, so we got the gem for that level. All right. So, and since this is kind of a casual playthrough, I'll be breaking it up a little bit just because I'm not going to play it all contiguously, so I'll break it up into a couple of parts. So we'll just kind of play through for a while and then come back to it a little bit later on. Okay, so this this level, what we're trying to do, it's all backwards, and you're trying to run away from these boulders. So, and those things on the ground will try and slow you down. There's a lot of things that will try and slow you down. So you just got to be really careful how you're moving because there's a lot of pits and things you can fall into. Give you a little bit of help with the Wampa fruit here early on, but there's a lot of stages later on, and he also kind of dodges to get out of the way for dramatic effect, but that's a ton slower. If you're trying to speed run, you want to avoid that. See, like here, they don't give you as much help. You just kind of have to figure out where you're supposed to go. These things will break boxes and other terrain around you, but sometimes they won't. So you have to kind of go out of your way sometimes to break some of these boxes. So, so just try your best, and hopefully don't run into problems. Later on, there's kind of a thing where you have to fall into one of those holes, like those giant pits that get created. But that's a little bit later on, and come on. Okay, there we go. Okay, so for this one, what I normally do is I'll jump on them kind of one at a time. I hold the X button and then just like tap the direction to make sure that I'm not missing something. These each have 10 in them, so 5, 6, 7, 8, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay, I guess they only have 8 in here. In the first game, they have 10. Oh boy. Yep, I'm gonna die. Miscounted. In this episode, ZXRyuu can't count properly. Sheesh. I'm gonna look like a total idiot on here. No one's gonna wanna follow. Follow me on Twitter. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I was trying to do these videos professionally. Ha. Make me look like I don't know what I'm doing. Just make me look like I know stuff. Okay, they do have 10. Okay. So about 9 is where I'll hold the X button. I thought they had 10 in them. I must have jumped on them a couple of times, and so it was throwing me off. Go back and watch the video and be like, yep, right there. So, anyway. Now that uh-oh, that's bad. Yep. Yeah, platform's not ZXRyuu's specialty. So that box gets broken. There's a couple of them that'll be put in a position where you can't, you know, the boulder won't break it, so you have to go break it yourself. Like these. Oh. Yeah, those you have to break, because there's one that you will miss if you let the boulder try and break it. You know, break it without you doing it, so you have to. So you have to get really far ahead. Man, I am doing terrible. Casual players, let's go. So, and most of the time you need to be sliding in order to have enough time to get ahead of these things. There we go. Whoa, that was close. I mean, I hope this is entertaining. I mean, I don't like to die in these games. I like to be able to go through them without dying, because I think dying is annoying and just doesn't look good. I mean, one, it's part of the casual playthrough. So I'm rusty. I've not practiced it 50 times in a row. But hopefully it provides an entertainment factor.
Listen up. We are not without enemies. Some of them you may even recognize. Although they cannot harm you inside this warp room, they can attack you on your way to the next one. To get to the next warp room, use the platform that appears in the center of the room. Good luck.
Okay, so the way these work is you stand on the platform, and then Crash, what he'll do is, at least on this one, he'll only point up, so you press up to go up. But in the other worlds, he'll point down, and you can press the down button to go back down to the previous one. So even though you kind of move on, there are ways to go back a little bit later on. Okay, so the first boss, like in the first game, is ZXRyuu. So he's been studying up, and he's a professor now, or something. I don't know. He's just crazy. So for this, you have to just stand in a certain part of the room to avoid getting hit by the TNT, and he's going to throw down some nitros here as well. So you just have to stand in a position that avoids getting hit by these. So usually I try and stand as far away as possible. So then after he does his nitro phase, then you can go and spin him, jump on him, whatever. And sometimes you have to get pretty close to it. It has a 2-block radius where it won't hurt you. So, and you can kind of move around a little bit too after the first one gets out of the way. So in the first game, the way you defeat him is you bounce on some TNT blocks and it gets kind of around him. So. That one's kind of annoying because if you stand in just the wrong place, you'll blow up. So in this one, you have to stand about here. You have to get pretty close. And that's it. It's kind of a, yeah, this kind of a thing you can do that if you're jumping during the victory animation, he'll jump even higher. So it's kind of strange, but that's what happens.
I see that ZXRyuu failed to prove much of a challenge yet again. But back to business. There are crystals to be gathered, 20 to will align shortly, all 13 of them, and this will create a power great enough to rip the Earth apart. Properly utilized, however, the crystals can absorb and contain the energy.
Crash, is that you? I've been looking everywhere. I don't have much time to tell you this. You have to be careful. Trusting Cortex seems a little unwise. Crash, I can't keep the data path open much longer. Crash, you need...
So anyway, Coco's still trying to get some information to us. She keeps hacking into Cortex's array. And those little hologram projectors are enemies in the first Crash Bandicoot game, just as an aside. So in the ice physics in this game is really weird. Like it'll move you around quite a bit, so you have to be careful. Yeah. There's an extra box that you can get there, but you know, if you don't place yourself badly like I did. Oh yeah, I forgot about those porcupine guys. So you can spin them and jump on them when they're not spiky, but it's just better to go around them. Unless you absolutely have to get rid of them. So and they move twice as fast. Okay, so for this level, in order to complete the, in order to get all of the boxes, you have to have the red gem. So we're going to, that was kind of cool. I don't usually get that. So we'll have to come back to this a little bit later on. I'm going to go ahead and just go through it like I would normally. You can't outrun those ice block things, but they are kind of problematic, so it's sometimes just better to just wait for them. So usually on ice you can kind of get around them a little bit easier. So let's see here. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the PS4 version of all of these games. Oh crap. That was a dumb move. And for whatever reason, you like can't get that bottom Wampa fruit down there. I don't know what it is. I think they just placed it a little bit too close to the bonus, so it just kind of throws it away. Instead of you being able to grab it, it's kind of weird. So anyway, the PS4 version includes a bunch of kind of like quality of life improvements, I guess is what I would call it. Is all of the games you can see how many boxes you need, and you have to wait till you stop sliding on the ice in order to break that before it... Because if the TNT boxes fall on your head, it blows you up, so... ZXRyuu relearning this game right now as we're playing, everyone. Yeah, the only thing I did to kind of prepare for this, because I wanted it to just kind of be as authentic as possible, you know, me playing back through these games. I don't practice very much before I record these videos, just so that it kind of maintains its authentic feel of how, you know, how difficult was this game, you know, when I first played through it, or, you know, revisiting it or whatever. So and usually the colored gems lead to other boxes that you need to get for the stages, so you usually can't get all of the boxes the first time through unless you have the colored gems. So you have to go through and find where in the levels they are and this kind of thing. So it makes it challenging. Okay, so we're not going to be able to get the gem. But at the end, this kind of points out that it does show you how many boxes you need and how many you broke. So it just shows in this level that the red gem is holding quite a few of the boxes. So, and it just makes the stages even longer. And it kind of sections them off too, so that you can kind of work on each section at a time without having to worry too much because the levels in the first game were just so long that there were some of them that if you died once, it was just nigh on impossible to, you know, it kind of was demotivating in a way because it was just so hard to get all of them all the way through without dying. So, but I mean, if you're from the NES generation of gaming, then interesting. I didn't know you could get stuck into the level geometry right there. If you're from the NES generation of gaming, then this game makes a lot more sense because it's kind of got that level of difficulty. And since I'm not really from that generation of gaming, I'm kind of from the Sega Genesis, the Super. You know, the PlayStation was really the console that I did so much with, and actually my original PlayStation, the lens is broken. It doesn't read games. I mean, it'll read a few games, and I just realized something. I'll have to come back to this stage. I use the PlayStation so much that the lens doesn't work anymore. I haven't gotten a replacement lens. Right now I'm just playing on the PS2 over RGB instead of playing on the PS1. I would rather play on the PS1 if I could because it's a little bit more accurate with some stuff. But just it hasn't been worth it to me to go and fix because I had the PS2 that works and it plays PS1 games, you know, pretty accurately. It's not 100%, but it's good enough. Okay, so again, I hate these. Yeah, that jump is kind of deceptively difficult. If you mess it up, you'll be short on it. So I always try and take it a little bit more cautiously. And this is the number one hated box in this stage because you have to get it and either turn to the left, or you have to get it and then turn around. I usually go for turning around just because it seems to be a little bit more consistent for me, but okay, that's right. It retains all of the bonus boxes. Okay. And the thing about this stage that's kind of annoying too is that grayed out platform back there. You unfortunately have to make it to this point without dying in order to kind of be able to access that. So you kind of have to perfect the stage in order to get everything. So same with those boxes back there too. So because you have to go bouncing on some platforms and then go back and forth and stuff. So this is probably one of the more annoying levels in the game because there's a warp point, there's a death area, and there's kind of boxes that are in really difficult places to get. So we're going to have to come back to this stage a couple of times now. So we got the crystal. Now we're going to go get the portal to the red gem, which I was going to do the first time around, but I forgot it was in this stage. So we're going to go back in. So this is the level you kind of have to revisit the most. Or one of them, I guess. There's a couple of them. So you have to go kind of through it just a lot of times, and I don't know. I mean, it's okay. I just don't like revisiting a bunch because it just takes a long time, and you know, after a while, it's just like meh. So the mask won't protect you from falling in the water or just like falling off of cliffs or this kind of thing, and I think that's kind of one of the things that I would actually rather it did rather than protect you from hits. Okay, so the reason why we grabbed this checkpoint is we're going to avoid the jet skate. So we have to jump on these boxes, and this is why you need a lot of lives here. Ah, kind of freaked out a little bit. You need a lot of lives here because you have to be able to jump on these boxes and then get to that platform over there. Okay, there we go. That wasn't too many tries, but it was probably more than it should have taken. And these are hidden, so this is a whole extra hidden world that they make more mention of in Crash 3 is really where you see a lot more of this. So there's level 2, there's level 7, which is the one we were just in, because there's another portal to get over there. There's level 27, which is an extra, and same with 26. There's 25 normal levels. And then 14 is kind of like a back cut that you need to get to some other boxes as well, which that stage is a little bit later on. So, okay, so we're going to go back and get the red gem now, and then we'll kind of quickly exit. I'm actually surprised that didn't hurt me because I bounced off of him. And just ahead of time before we get there, in order to get the red gem, it's kind of strangely placed. So you have to kind of go to the right-hand side of the. Be careful not to hit that. So this game is pretty generous with lives, and I think the first game was as well. A little bit later on in the game, not right at first. So there's a stage later on that gives you quite a few lives, and you can kind of go back to it once you've been there. I told you to slide. What happened to the slide? Oh. Even those metal boxes you can kind of slide around a little bit on. So the ice physics are kind of weird. Yeah. And changing your momentum in this game is really difficult. I'm trying to momentum shift here. Oh, really? So it'll stop me on that one, but it won't the first time? Okay, cool. Okay, there we go. Weird, it'll still give you the animation of being hurt, and the reason why this box is here is so you can kind of cancel your momentum a little bit. Okay, so we're getting pretty close now. Okay, so I always hug the right-hand wall just because there's a possibility you can miss it, so that's why we do that. We hug the right wall and we grab it. I think in the PlayStation 4 version, I think they actually moved. Whoops! I think they moved the position of it to be more centered so that you don't have the opportunity to miss it. Any extra lives you can get and any extra fruit you can get is always helpful. So, and I didn't mention this last time, but those green exclamation boxes break all the nitro boxes in the stage because they do count toward the stage total. So, so you always have to break those if you want to get 100% on the level. All right, so we're going to go back to the previous stage that we were on. I think it's called Air Crash. You don't have to fight the bosses again. I think there is a button code though that if you want to, you can press it again. So, or you can press the code to do that. So actually we're going to revisit Snowbiz first since we needed the red gem for it. What am I doing? I always check and make sure that, you know, especially with TNT boxes, it has a weird, I don't know if it's really like fair to call it a glitch, but sometimes what happens is it doesn't give you the boxes that blew up next to it, it just gives you the one TNT box that explodes. So, I don't know. It's just better to kind of give yourself a couple of seconds to make sure that it indeed blew up. Oops. Thought for some reason I could slide those guys. Okay. Yeah, because like this level, for some reason, you know, like just certain things don't get triggered sometimes, so. So it's just better with TNT boxes just to make sure that things get triggered. Yeah, so it's kind of weird. Just sometimes you can scroll the TNT boxes or the detonation animation or whatever. You can just kind of scroll it off screen and it, you know, it doesn't trigger, so. Huh. Kind of a weird thing. So and a lot of these jumps are pretty tricky. I mean, they put them right at the end of what you can do, so you have to just be really careful. Whoa, I actually didn't know that those fell. All right. Okay, so now we have 77 boxes, so that broke a lot in the level. Because mainly they hide the the nitro trigger in those special sections, so that's what's kind of annoying about it. Oops. Actually, for the longest time, I didn't even think you could get back up if you missed that, so I kind of reset the stage sometimes because of that. Okay, there we go. Now we're a little bit safer. Uh-oh. The dashing kind of, for whatever reason, will... Okay, so that time it did give it to me. It put it to the bonus rather than just throwing it away. It's weird. I don't know. Um, so yeah, when you're sliding on ice, for whatever reason, you can kind of change directions really quickly by dashing the opposite direction. So it'll immediately shift your momentum. So that's kind of the one thing in this game where you can do momentum shifting. Yee. Wait, that was weird. I was not expecting that to happen. Oh yeah, you can kind of spin on certain blocks too, and it'll stop you from bouncing up and down. So kind of helpful in areas. Yeah, but the ice really messes with you. And I remember when this game was new and, you know, messing around with the ice, I was like, ugh. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Air Crash. And some of these stages, too, just have silly little, you know, the names of them are pretty funny. So it's like Sewer or Later. Misbehaving, you know, these kind of things. So just little quirky little names. Okay, so let's see if we can make it all the way to that one section without dying. And sometimes, too, the hitbox or collide detection with this jet skate is a little weird, where you'll like run right over boxes and it won't trigger the break animation. So you just have to kind of hit it a couple times until it does break. There's not really anything else you can do. Ooh. Okay, what happened to the slide? At least I didn't need it. Whoops. Well, there goes my masks, too. That's what's annoying, is if you die in the bonus stages or die anywhere by falling off, you lose all of that stuff. It doesn't give it back to you. So this game is kind of unforgiving. I mean, it's supposed to be kind of... I don't know. I mean, it definitely looks like, you know, the animation style that's geared more for children. But it's a really challenging game. Just any of them. I mean, if you've never... Yeah, like that. You can almost miss that jump. If you've never played a Crash Bandicoot game, I kind of actually suggest that you just start on Crash 3 and do that one instead, just because it's kind of the easiest one to start out on. So, and thankfully dying in the bonus section does not lose the ability to go here. So that's the platform with the skull I was talking about, and those are in several sections. So they give you a little bit of time to get on the platform, and then you gotta move. So. Okay, this one's kind of challenging because you have to wait a couple of seconds after it comes up, then go, so that the other one will spawn. Yeah, and you can die by getting sucked down there, so I just... I just kind of do my best. Okay, and then this is the special gem. So I guess we'll go ahead and exit the level and then go back. All right, so now we need to go in here and get the gem for the boxes. So, and again, I'm really just playing this like you would through, very casually. I mean, this is not at all like the speedrunners would do this. Because there's way better routes to go through the stages than what I'm doing. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to have fun revisiting my childhood and, you know, trying not to die too much. Oops. Speaking of not dying too much. But this will be good practice because, I mean, I would like to eventually go through Crash 3 also. I'm only going to go through Crash 1 if you guys want me to. I'm not going to probably choose of my own to go through it again. It's really challenging. It's really difficult. And I think, I don't know, I just don't know that it really makes sense for me to go through it because I'm not practiced. Huh. Strange. Not sure why that happened, actually. Go back and look at it later and probably realize I got a little bit too close. Okay, that time I did get too close. Yeah, so, but I'm only going to go through Crash 1 if the video gets enough likes and, you know, this kind of thing, because it's just really challenging, and I think I have to just kind of be in the right mindset to even go back and play it again, because after completing it through the first time 100%, I was like, I don't really feel like doing it again. It's kind of the same thing with something the Gray Dragon told me at one point. He went through the first Mario Bros. Game on the NES just because that was one of the few games that he had when he first started playing games. And anytime I suggest that we do the first Mario Bros. Game or something, he just says no. He does not want to go back and through and do it again, and so that's kind of how I feel about the first Crash Bandicoot game. But if there's enough want for it and you guys really want to see it, just give this video or the Crash 3 video whenever I make that a like and comment or whatever, and if it makes sense to, I'll go back and do it again. But I'm not guaranteeing that I'll go through the first Crash game again. It's just, yeah. If you want to see ZXRyuu get super frustrated. Okay, so we get that checkpoint and kind of stand on this little wooden brick here. Well, that's not, I didn't want a damage boost on the platform, but okay, cool. Because again, these are platforms you have to get right on the edge. Then you can make it. And sometimes that'll warp you directly on it, and sometimes it'll just kill you. So it's, I don't know, it's just really iffy. I mean, the game is designed pretty well. I mean, there's some things here and there that just make it kind of iffy on whether or not you can do certain things, and that kind of takes away from the game sometimes, depending on what it is. But this game especially was kind of designed that levels you would go back through and, oh, you would do levels again. What am I missing? I have no clue what I'm missing. Huh. Okay, well, I'll come back to that because apparently I don't know what I'm doing. Casual play or not. Okay, so this, so I guess we'll throw that away and forget that ever happened. So we'll move on to this stage. And after we finish this world, we'll go ahead and stop for this first part. And then we'll come back to this a little bit later. Okay, so this game introduces a new kind of concept, I guess. I mean, the first game you were riding on a hog. That section of boxes is always annoying to try and get. So you're riding on this bear. In the hog levels, you couldn't dash, but in this one you can. You can press the circle button and dash with the polar bear. So. And the polar bears, I hate that. Man, these levels. Got the bad death animation because it's really slow. Yeah, so but the polar bear's name is Polar. Based on Crash Team Racing, I think is where they gave that name. That one I just kind of blitz through because it makes it easier than trying to like avoid the TNT explosion. I'm as confused as the polar bear is. Yeah. That's what was supposed to happen the first time. I don't know why my jump button is being the way that it is. I'm like hitting it and it's not working. Oops, okay, that was just stupid. I hate it too when you jump and you don't quite clear stuff. Oops. I love that the shorts are the only thing to survive. I'm always holding left with that TNT box because for whatever reason it has a tendency to kind of reach out and grab you. Ah. Same with that series of boxes. Shoot, that series of boxes is annoying. Yeah, that explosion sometimes will get you. So. Okay, there we go. You have to just barely grab the edge. And then move really quickly to the other side to get it. Oh, okay. It just came back to me now on what I need to do for that air crash level. In one of the polar bear stages, I think it's in the next world, or maybe even the world after, I can't remember. You have to jump on some platforms to get to that same special warp room, so that you can get the extra boxes. Now, I don't condone violence against animals. This is something you can do in the game. You can stand on the polar bear, and actually beyond that, if you jump on the polar bear a bunch, eventually it'll just give you a bunch of extra lives. So you can do with that what you will. I mean, the polar bear's fine, I guess, but I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. Yeah, so definitely after we finish this world, we'll stop because we're getting close to, or we're already past an hour, so. So again, I try and keep the videos to an hour because, I mean, I don't know, just after a certain point, you know, just it's not really worth like continuing to watch certain things after a while. So I mean, you have to really be engaged in it. So, so I just try and keep them to an hour so that you know they're at least you can watch them in a decent chunk of time. That's always really hard to see what's going on there because the electric field kind of gets in the way of you being able to see when to jump. So. I always have to wait a little bit longer than I think to get around that one. There we go. And then so you don't have to go back, they give you a nice warp point, which is helpful. Because I think it'd just be nigh on impossible to get both of those, or to get back through those gates, so. Uh-oh. Again, the fruit helps you a little bit. Uh-oh, that's bad. That's really bad. That's even worse. Oh, darn it. That was dumb. I shouldn't have jumped there. I was still okay. So with the body slam, it's nice too. You can break a whole bunch of boxes in a row by doing that. So it's kind of helpful. In Crash 3, and I guess we'll get to this when we play it, but there's some tools that they kind of give you for some special weapons and special abilities and things so that you can get through the levels quicker, and I don't know, just kind of some things that they kind of really meant for you to backtrack a lot through that game. So. This one you need a lot of space because there's actually a box at the very end that you have to body slam. So you need a lot of extra time in order to... Yeah, that one. So that's why they give you all that extra time, because you need it. Okay, now for the eel deal. So this one has a special gem in it. It's got the green gem in it. What's kind of annoying about the green gem, though, is it's pretty well hidden. I mean, I had to look through this stage, I don't know, maybe a dozen times or more to try and figure out where it was. So, these propeller things, you just really need to go in between them. I mean, you can break... forgot about those guys. Those are the eels. You can break the propellers off, but usually you do by taking damage, so you don't want to do that. Hopefully we don't have rats like that living in our sewers. Those are freaky deaky. Okay, now there's branching paths. You kind of just have to figure it out. Okay. Now here's the giveaway for the gem. This is what finally tipped me off, was that it's a green gem and it's a room with a bunch of green in it. So you can just walk through this wall. And it triggers the special music. Whoops, that's not good. There it is. And the problem is, you have to make it back. You could, I suppose you could death abuse here and go back because there's not any boxes down this way. But I would just rather try and do it with as few deaths as possible. I'm not sure how that didn't hit me, actually. Okay, and when you come back out, you got to be really careful because the camera does not adjust quickly. So you have to kind of just gently move yourself out. Okay. Whew. And these platforms won't sink or anything, so you can stand on them for as long as you want to. Okay, we're going to grab that checkpoint just to save the progress. So, and everything that's in these boxes can kind of, for one reason or another, be spun away, except for the masks. And they took that away, that you can't spin those away now, which is good. Because in the first game, that could be just absolutely devastating if you had that happen to you. Chose the wrong path. Because that's leading forward in the, oops, that's leading forward in the stage. Oh well. Oh well, we'll just reset to right here. Yeah, so if you spin enemies into it also, it'll take away the propellers, but for the most part, you just have to just avoid them. So and actually it was this stage in particular, when I was playing through, I suppose as a casual at that point too, that that was where I kind of figured out that you had to break those boxes using the body slam. I think it was there that I finally figured out, oh, that's how it works. Because I would just spin them and didn't really understand what I was supposed to be doing, and then eventually kind of figured out that, oh, there's a slide and there's a jump and all these extra things that I didn't know that existed. Okay, so this section you grab on and can move around. This is just kind of their introduction to the concept here. You can hold circle and so you can spin. I don't know how he can spin while keeping his arms there, but you can hold circle to avoid things. It becomes a little bit more apparent that you need to do stuff like that in 3, but I think there's a time or two where you do it in here. What's kind of annoying is these corridors are really tight, so if you try and dash or slide jump, you might bump into enemies. Because the level geometry will kind of push you around. Okay, we should have a cutscene here.
10 of 25 crystals. You're on your way. I'm running low on power, so communication from this point will be difficult. Again, be wary of the pathways between warp rooms. Remember, I'm counting on you.
Alright, so let's go ahead and do the boss, and then we'll save and quit. And I'm going to need to get my memory card, actually. Okay, so we have the Kimono Bros. So one of them spins around. So you have to avoid getting hit. You have to spin him and he'll bounce into the other one. Then you have to avoid getting hit by all these knives, swords, whatever these are. So and after this phase, while the young Kimono Bro is spinning around, the older one will throw swords at you, so you just gotta be careful. That was awful close. And that's it. And a funny side note, in Crash Team Racing, only the younger bro is there because apparently the older bro like died or something in this fight. I don't know what the lore is on that, but anyway. Okay, so then we've got another cutscene. Swap my memory card.
Good show, Crash. The Komodo brothers obviously lacked your mettle. But now is not the time to get cocky. There are still many crystals to obtain. Remember, the world is counting on you.
So I guess just as a side note before I save, this bear down stage, for whatever reason, this is the one where you can kind of get back behind the loading plane and you'll just fall off and die and it won't warp you to the stage. It doesn't happen too often, but it happens kind of enough, so it's kind of a weird glitch. I don't know. Okay, let's actually just overwrite this save file because apparently a while ago I lost my save files for Crash. I think Crash 1 and 2. I think I lost my save files for them. So I've been trying to rebuild them a little bit. The Crash 1 save file, I was pretty upset when that was gone because it's a lot of work and it's a really hard game. So, but anyway, that's the first part of Let's Play of Crash Bandicoot 2. So we'll continue at a later date. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you like it, and we'll catch you next time, everybody.